My name is Dolly Brandon. I'm 32 years old, and if you'd asked me a week before everything happened, I would have told you I had a normal life, steady job, steady relationship, steady routine. I would have said my family was complicated, but still family. I would have been wrong. I work as a regional manager for a distribution company. It's the kind of job where you learn to keep your voice calm even when people are yelling, where you learn to solve problems before they explode. Most days, my biggest drama is a delayed shipment or a warehouse supervisor calling in sick. That Tuesday was supposed to be boring. It was late afternoon, the office lights too bright, the air too cold, and I was pretending to care about inventory reports when my phone buzzed. A text from my dad. Dad, you're not welcome home anymore. We changed the locks. Your stuff is in the garage. At first, my brain refused to translate the words, like it was written in another language. I reread it once, twice, 10 times. I looked around my office, half expecting someone to jump out laughing. Got you, because it felt like a prank. A cruel one, but still, unreal. My hands went cold as I called him. He answered on the first ring, like he'd been waiting for it. Dad, I said, hearing my voice crack, what the hell is this? There was a pause, just long enough to tell me he'd rehearsed what he was about to say. It's time you figured out your own life, Dolly, he replied. Flat, certain. You're 32. I blinked hard. I live there. Your mother and I have discussed this. My throat tightened. Discussed what? Your sister needs the space more than you do. Of course, Emma. My younger sister, Emma, 29, married, pregnant, glowing in the way people glow when life is going exactly the way it's supposed to. Emma, who could do no wrong. Emma, who could cry once and get a new car. Emma, who could make one vague comment about stress. And suddenly my parents were rearranging the world around her like furniture. I wasn't the favorite. I was the backup plan. The reliable one. The one who fixed things, paid things, smoothed things over. Can we at least talk about this in person? I asked. Like adults? There's nothing to talk about, Dad said. We've made our decision. Then I heard a shuffle, a soft sound like the phone changing hands. My mom's voice came through, different than usual, not loud, not angry. Just cold. Dolly, she said, like she was speaking to a stranger. Your sister is starting a family. She needs stability. You've had plenty of time to get your life together. I felt heat rise behind my eyes. Mom, I literally live there. Where am I supposed to go? That's something you'll need to figure out. Are you serious right now? Emma and her husband need this house. I almost laughed at the absurdity, not because it was funny, because my brain couldn't find any other response. You can't just kick me out with no warning. We can, she replied, and I could hear the steel in her voice now. And we are. Your father left your belongings in the garage. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. And then she hung up. I sat there staring at my phone like it had betrayed me too. My assistant manager, Troy, knocked lightly on my open door. Hey, everything okay? I opened my mouth to answer and realized if I tried to speak, I might sob. So I swallowed and said, family emergency. I've got to go. He nodded, concerned, but I was already grabbing my keys, already walking too fast down the hallway, like speed could outrun humiliation. The drive to the house was a blur of red lights and tight breathing. My hands clenched the steering wheel so hard my knuckles ached. When I got there, I didn't pull into the driveway. I parked across the street and just sat. Emma's car was there. So was her husband's truck. Big, lifted, obnoxious, the kind with blinding LED lights that screamed, "Look at me." Through the living room window, I saw movement. Shadows crossing the walls, someone laughing, someone carrying something like they were settling in, like they owned it, like I hadn't existed there for years. I got out, walked up the driveway, and tried my key. It didn't turn. I tried again, harder, like force could change reality. Nothing. My stomach dropped as I looked at the mailbox. The little nameplate had been replaced. Emma and Carter Mitchell. Not the family name, not mine. I stared at it until my eyes blurred, then looked up at my bedroom window. New curtains, pale ones, soft, not mine. A nursery vibe? My chest went tight, like the air had thickened. Then the front door opened. Emma's husband, Carter, stepped out. He had that careful look people wear when they don't want to be seen as the villain, but they're still doing villain stuff anyway. Hey, he said awkwardly, scratching the back of his neck. Your dad said you might stop by. I stared at him. What is happening? Your stuff's in the garage, he continued, like he was reading instructions. Side doors open. He said it so casually, so politely, like he was doing me a favor. Carter, I said, voice shaking now, you can't seriously think this is okay. He lifted both hands like he wanted to stay out of the blast zone. Look, I don't want drama. Your parents decided to give us the house. It's between you and them. Give you the house, I repeated, slow and sharp. They can't just give you a house I'm living in. He shrugged. They own it. They can do what they want. And then, God, I still see it in my head, he closed the door. Not slammed, not angry. Just closed it in my face, like I was no longer part of the inside. I walked around to the garage. The side door was unlocked, just like he said, waiting like a doggy door for the unwanted. My things were there in trash bags and cheap boxes, not packed neatly, dumped. Clothes tangled with books, my laptop wedged sideways against a broken picture frame, one of my shoes missing its pair. It wasn't just eviction. It was erasure. I loaded everything into my car in 3 trips. Each trip felt like swallowing glass. Emma never came out. My parents never came out. The windows stayed bright and warm behind me, and every time I looked up, I half expected to see my mom watching. Guilty, maybe. But no, nothing. That night, I checked into a cheap hotel off the highway, the kind with thin blankets and a vending machine humming in the hallway. I sat on the bed, surrounded by my own trash-bagged life, and finally let myself breathe. That's when my phone buzzed again. My boyfriend, Max. Max worked at a dental office. Gentle hands, steady voice, the type who listened first and spoke second. We'd been together about 1.5 years, long enough that he'd seen the pattern with my family, even when I didn't want to admit it. I almost didn't answer. Then I did. Dolly, he said immediately. Where are you? I've been calling. Are you okay? I tried to speak and my throat tightened. No. And then the whole story poured out. Text message, locks, garage, Carter closing the door. Max was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, controlled, but I heard the anger under it. I told you, he said. I told you they were using you. I know, I whispered, staring at my hands. What are you going to do? I don't know, I admitted. But even as I said it, my eyes drifted to my banking app, something in me desperate to confirm something was still under my control. I opened it, and there it was. Auto payment, $3,500. Mortgage company, every month, 2 years. My stomach lurched. 2 years ago, my dad had called me panicked. They were behind. The house was at risk. They needed to refinance, and their credit wasn't good enough. You have good credit, Dolly, he'd said. Just help us get the paperwork through. It's temporary. We'll take over again in a few months. I'd signed. I'd fixed it, like I always did. And then life kept moving. Work got busy. Family dramas came and went. The payment became background noise, a silent leak. Now I stared at the total like it was a sentence being read out loud in court. $84,000. Paid by me. For a house I'd just been thrown out of like trash. My thumb hovered over the screen. Cancel auto pay. 1 click. I could stop the bleeding. I didn't press it. Not yet. Because in that moment, a colder thought slid into place, heavy and sharp. If my name was on the mortgage, then what else was my name on? And why did my family look so comfortable inside a house that had just swallowed $84,000 of my money? I stared at that button, heart thudding. Max was still on the phone. Dolly? I'm here, I said softly. And in the dim hotel light, with my life in trash bags and my family behind locked doors, I felt something shift inside me. Something quiet, dangerous, and clear. I think, I whispered, they made a mistake. I didn't sleep that night. I lay on the stiff hotel mattress staring at the ceiling, listening to the air conditioner rattle like it was about to give up, my mind replaying everything over and over, the text, the locks, Carter's casual shrug, my mother's cold voice. By morning, shock had turned into something else. Clarity. I called in sick to work Wednesday and Thursday. There was no way I could pretend to care about supply chains when my entire sense of reality had cracked open. Max came by Wednesday night with takeout, his jaw tight the whole time. They've been disrespecting you for years, he said, setting the food down. You just didn't want to see it. I know, I said quietly. I thought if I kept helping, eventually they'd treat me like I mattered. He didn't argue with that. He just sat beside me, solid, grounding. Thursday morning, I made the call. Marcus, I said when he answered, I need legal help, like yesterday. Marcus and I had been roommates in college. He was the kind of guy who color-coded his notes and actually read the syllabus. Now he was a real estate attorney downtown, successful enough that his voicemail greeting sounded expensive. Okay, he said slowly. Start from the beginning. So I did. The text, the locks, Emma and Carter moving in, the garage. Then I told him about the mortgage. There was a long silence on the line. Dolly, he said carefully, did you say the mortgage is in your name? Yes, I refinanced it for them 2 years ago. Another pause, longer this time. Do you understand what that means? That I'm an idiot who paid $84,000 for a house I don't live in anymore? No, he replied. It means you own the house. My stomach flipped. That's not possible. They've lived there for 30 years. Doesn't matter, Marcus said. Ownership isn't about who slept there the longest. It's about whose name is on the loan and the deed. Find the paperwork. Bring everything to my office tomorrow. I barely slept again. Friday afternoon, I sat in Marcus's conference room while he spread documents across the table like a crime scene. Bank statements, mortgage paperwork, refinancing agreements. He went through them line by line. Finally, he leaned back. Okay, he said, here's the situation. You're the primary borrower. Your parents are co-borrowers, but legally, you're responsible for the loan, and you've been making every single payment for 2 years. I nodded, numb. They cannot legally give this house to your sister, he continued. They don't have the right to transfer property with an active mortgage in someone else's name. So what does that mean? I asked. It means they messed up. Bad. He clicked something on his laptop, brows knitting. Oh, wow. What? I asked. Your parents listed the house for sale 3 weeks ago. He turned the screen toward me. There it was. My childhood home. $275,000. Photos of every room, including my old bedroom, now painted soft yellow with a crib in the corner. I felt sick. That night, back at the hotel, I scrolled through Emma's social media. Renovation photos, new cabinets, new floors, paint swatches, all posted cheerfully over the last few months. Carter's page was worse. Finally achieved the dream of home ownership. Hard work pays off. Blessed. Hard work. Max sat beside me as I showed him everything. They were selling it, he said flatly, without telling you. And I was still paying, I whispered. Marcus called Sunday night. The realtor is Sandra Wu, he said. Prestige Realty. I called pretending to be a buyer. Your parents told her the house was basically paid off. That's not true. Exactly, that's fraud. Monday morning, I canceled the auto pay. No ceremony, no dramatic moment. Just one click. And suddenly, I had an extra $3,500 in my account for the first time in 2 years. I found an apartment that afternoon. 1 bedroom, nothing fancy, but it was mine. Signed the lease. Moved in Wednesday with Max's help. My phone stayed silent for a week. Then the calls started. Mom's voicemails were sweet at first. Dad's texts were tense, Emma asking if I'd heard from them. I ignored everything. The 3rd week, the panic came through. Missed calls, no messages. Then one voicemail from Dad, voice tight. Dolly, this is getting ridiculous. Call me back. Wednesday, Mom again, higher pitched now. Sweetie, please call me. There's something important about the house. There it was. The house. Thursday afternoon, an unknown number called. I let it go to voicemail. Hello, Miss Brandon, the woman said. This is Sandra Wu from Prestige Realty. I'm working with your parents on the sale of the property at 847 Maple Street. We've encountered some complications regarding the mortgage. I forwarded it to Marcus. They noticed, he replied. Don't answer yet. Friday was chaos. Mom called 4 times, Dad 3, Emma twice. I finally answered Emma. What is happening? She demanded. The bank keeps calling. Mom and Dad say something's wrong. Huh, I said lightly. That's weird. Dolly, she snapped. Is the mortgage in your name? Yes. You've been paying it? Not anymore. Silence. 10 minutes later, Dad called. I let it ring. I texted back one line. You told me to figure out my own arrangements, so figure it out. Saturday morning, Max brought coffee, and we watched movies while my phone lit up like a warning sign. By Sunday night, I felt calm. Not angry. Just done. When Marcus texted, "You ready for the next step?" I replied, yeah, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't fixing their mess. I was letting it fall apart. The text came Saturday morning. Mom, we need to talk. Just coffee, please. I stared at it for a long time before responding. Marcus's advice echoed in my head. Go. Let them talk. See what they try to pull. I agreed to meet them at a diner halfway between my apartment and the house, the old neutral zone where nothing good ever seemed to happen, but everything finally came out. Max offered to come with me. I can wait in the car, he said, or sit inside, or stand dramatically behind you like security. I almost smiled. Stay on speed dial. That's enough. When I walked into the diner, they were already there. All of them. My parents sat in a booth, stiff and silent, and beside them, very deliberately placed, was Emma. She was visibly pregnant now, 5, maybe 6 months along, one hand resting on her stomach like a shield, like a weapon. So this wasn't coffee. This was an ambush. They looked rough. Dad's eyes were sunken, dark circles carved deep into his face. Mom's makeup couldn't hide the redness around her eyes. Emma looked polished on the surface, but her fingers were tapping too fast against the table. I slid into the booth across from them and ordered coffee. Nobody spoke. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. "There's been some confusion," he began. I didn't respond. Just wrapped my hands around the mug and waited. "We didn't realize you were still making the mortgage payments," he continued, "for 2 years. $3,500 a month." I raised an eyebrow. "You didn't notice $84,000 missing?" Mom jumped in quickly. "We thought your father was handling it, and I thought the house was paid off." Emma looked between us, eyes wide. "Mom and Dad told us it was their gift. We had no reason to question that." I leaned back. "You never saw paperwork?" "They're our parents," Emma snapped. "Why would we?" I nodded slowly. "Mine too." The waitress dropped off my coffee. I took a sip, let the silence stretch. Emma broke first. "We put our savings into that house," she said, voice rising. "The renovations, the nursery, everything." "Show me the deed with your name on it," I replied calmly. Her mouth opened, closed. Mom pressed her lips together. Dad stared at the table. "You can't just destroy us over money," Dad said finally. I laughed, not loud, not cruel, just tired. "You destroyed me with a text message," I said. "This is just math." Emma's voice cracked. "We're having a baby. We need that house." "Congratulations," I said evenly. "I hope you budgeted for rent." Dad's jaw clenched. "You're tearing this family apart." "No," I replied. "You did that when you changed the locks." Mom finally looked at me, really looked at me. "We were angry," she said softly. "We didn't mean it like this." "You meant it enough to erase my name from the mailbox," I said. "Enough to turn my room into a nursery. Enough to try selling a house I was paying for." Emma started crying. Real tears this time. Loud. Messy. "What do you want from us?" she sobbed. "Nothing," I said. "I don't want anything from you anymore." Dad leaned forward. "So you'll just let us lose everything?" "You never had it," I replied. "That's the point." Emma slammed her hand on the table. "You're making us homeless." "No," I said quietly. "You made yourselves homeless when you moved into a house you didn't own." Her phone rang then. "Carter." The sound cut through the booth like a knife. She answered on speaker without thinking. "Babe," his voice came through. "Did she agree to help?" Emma couldn't even speak. She was crying too hard. Mom reached for my hand. "Please don't do this. We're your family." I pulled my hand back gently. "Family doesn't change locks," I said. "Family doesn't erase people." Emma looked up at me, eyes red, mascara running. "I'll never forgive you for this." I nodded. "Same." I stood, dropped cash on the table for my coffee. "For what it's worth," I said, "I really did care about you." Past tense. Mom grabbed my sleeve. "Please." "You said Emma needed stability," I replied. "I needed a family. You chose the house over me." Emma stood too, voice sharp with desperation. "You're choosing money over family." I met her gaze. "No, you chose a free house over your sister. I'm just choosing to stop paying for it." I walked out. My hands were shaking when I reached my car, but I didn't stop walking, didn't look back. Inside, through the diner window, I saw Emma collapse into the booth, Dad bury his face in his hands, Mom already on her phone, probably calling relatives. I texted Max. "It's done." My phone exploded minutes later. Extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. I sent them all the same thing. Screenshots, bank statements, Dad's text, the house listing. The questions stopped. That night, Max came over with Chinese food. Emma had already started posting vague quotes on social media about betrayal and fake people. "Let her," Max said. "You've got receipts." The phone buzzed again, Dad calling. "Let it ring," Max said. I watched the screen light up, then go dark. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. And I knew the worst, and the final reckoning was still coming. The foreclosure moved faster than I expected. Once the paperwork started rolling, it didn't slow down for emotions, pregnancy, or family history. Marcus kept me updated in short, efficient messages, dates, filings, timelines, while my parents spiraled publicly and privately. Emma went feral on social media. At first, it was vague posts about betrayal and fake people. Then it escalated. Long rants typed at 3 a.m, comments turned off, then back on, then deleted again. Anyone who questioned her version of events got blocked. The extended family, the ones who mattered anyway, already knew the truth. They'd seen the receipts. 2 weeks before the auction, Emma showed up at my apartment screaming in the hallway. Building security escorted her out while she cried about how I was ruining her baby's future. Max filed an incident report. "Your sister is unhinged," he said, rubbing his temples. "Yeah," I replied. "I'm finally seeing that." Dad called once, offering to buy the house back. I quoted full market value. He asked for equity. I laughed and hung up. 3 weeks later, the auction date arrived. Friday, 10 a.m., county courthouse steps. I didn't wake up nervous. I woke up aware, like I knew this was the last chapter of something that had been dragging me down my entire life. Max met me at my apartment, coffee in hand. Ready? As I'll ever be. There were about 20 people gathered, investors mostly. Clipboards, folders, casual conversations about square footage and resale margins. The house I grew up in reduced to numbers and profit margins. Sandra, the realtor, spotted me and walked over. She looked exhausted. I'm really sorry, she said quietly. If I'd known the truth, I never would have taken the listing. I nodded. I know. At 9:55, my family arrived. Emma was heavily pregnant now, 8 months, easily. She moved slowly, one hand gripping Carter's arm. Mom looked hollow. Dad looked 10 years older. They saw me. Emma tried to walk toward us. Mom stopped her. Carter stared at me like he wanted to say something heroic but couldn't find the words. I gave a small wave. Max snorted. You're evil. I learned from the best. At exactly 10 Honig, the auctioneer stepped forward. First property, he announced, H47 Maple Street. Hearing the address out loud felt surreal. Bidding started. 260,000, 265,000. Then silence. Going once, the auctioneer said. Going twice. Sold. Just like that. A gavel, a clipboard, a signature. Years of favoritism, manipulation, and entitlement ended in under 2 minutes. Emma's legs gave out. She didn't faint. She just collapsed onto a bench, sobbing. Carter started yelling at the auctioneer like volume could reverse legal reality. Mom cried quietly. Dad stared at the ground. He walked over to me afterward, stopping a few feet away. You happy now? He asked. Happy isn't the word, I said, but I'm not unhappy. Your sister's about to have a baby, he said. She has nowhere to go. She's had months to plan, I replied, just like you told me to. Emma staggered over, makeup streaked down her face. I hate you, she said hoarsely. I didn't respond. Carter stepped forward aggressively. Max moved between us instantly. Back up. Carter hesitated, then retreated. Emma looked at me, eyes wild. You know I'm having a girl, right? Your niece. I met her gaze. I hope you teach her not to take things that don't belong to her. Even Mom gasped. I turned and walked away. Marcus texted 20 minutes later. After fees and payoff, you'll clear about 48,000. Funds in 3 weeks. I stared at the message. It's not about the money, I said aloud. Max nodded. It never was. That weekend, we went house hunting. 8 houses. One felt right. 3 bedrooms. Fenced backyard. Quiet street. This could be, Max started. Our place, I finished. We put in an offer that afternoon. Both our names. Equal ownership. It was accepted Monday. 6 months passed. 6 quiet, peaceful months. No family drama, no emergency calls, no guilt. Work promoted me to senior regional manager. Better hours, better pay, more space to breathe. Max and I painted rooms, planted flowers, fixed the fence. His cat claimed the bedroom window like it was custom built for him. Then one Saturday morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. Something made me answer. Dolly, Emma's voice said, thin and exhausted. Please don't hang up. Against my better judgment, I met her. She looked broken. She had the baby with her, a little girl, quiet, innocent. Emma told me everything. Bad apartment, unpaid maternity leave, Carter working 2 jobs, our parents moving to Florida without even saying goodbye. They abandoned us, she whispered. I nodded. Sounds familiar. She asked for money, just $3,000. Promised she'd pay it back. I said no. She cried, begged, played every card. I stood up. I would have helped you once, I said. Before the locks, before the lies, before you erased me. I left her there. No guilt, no regret. A year after the auction, Max and I sat on our back porch watching the sunset. I was 3 months pregnant. You ever think about them? He asked. Sometimes, I admitted, but I miss who I thought they were, not who they actually are. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I turned it face down. I'm done being the backup plan, I said. Max smiled. I know. And for the first time in my life, I meant it. I wasn't fixing anyone else's life. I was living my own.